Okay, so you've heard the term footprint, the amount of negative impact on the planet. You may not have heard of its companion term, handprint. Your handprint is the sum of actions you take to create a positive impact. It's also the name of a clever startup that wants to help people make more positive decisions for the planet.
My name is Simon Schillebeeckx. I'm originally Belgian. I am the co-founder and chief strategy officer of Handprint.
And it's more than a site plugin. It's a tool for companies and organizations to make a real sustainability impact. Real data, real contributions, real change. Can you tell us some more about what Handprint does?
So Handprint is a multi-sided market platform that connects companies to causes they and their customers care about. On the one side, we curate NGO projects that create a positive impact on the world, such as projects that work on reforestation, coral reef reconstruction, ocean plastic cleanups, but also social dimensions like female empowerment or anti-poverty work. And we work with these NGOs to digitize their service offering and translate what they do into discrete units of impact, like 1 tree planted or 1 hour of education provided. And then we have a marketplace where companies can come and just basically buy into those projects. But more importantly, we have a set of tools that enable companies to not simply buy those things, but to integrate them into business processes. And so the first product we developed was for e-commerce. So we enabled e-commerce merchants that use Shopify or WooCommerce or Magento to add a plugin to their checkout process that demonstrates at the moment of decision, the critical moment in the user journey, that hey, you're not just buying something, you're also doing something good for the world, because through this plugin I make a commitment that I pledge 1% of the revenue that this sale is making is going to a positive impact project, or 100 kilogram of CO2 is going to be absorbed, or 2 kilogram of plastic is going to be removed from the ocean. And so what we do in the back end is, well, we enable this by APIs and just by technology to make sure that all these things are real. And then we provide a monitoring service to actually guarantee that the impacts that we sell to our clients, that they actually happen. And so we have a technological monitoring, we have a social monitoring, we have financial monitoring, variety of tools in place in order to assure our clients that the impact that they are paying for is real and is uniquely theirs.
For consumers who take social and environmental promises seriously, greenwashing is inexcusable. That's why organizations that are excited to take on more responsibility are poised to go far. Thanks to Handprint's diligence and tracking real change, companies can be held accountable for where their dollars are actually going. So what is a milestone Handprint has achieved that you're most proud of?
We just got into Startup Bootcamp Australia to go and work with Mitsubishi on a very different type of integration around liquid natural gas. So very, very different type of business. But the recognition that our core idea as an organization of how do we look at business transactions that are happening in across so many levels and across so many different industries, but how do we look at them in a very abstract way and just try to understand that any kind of digital transaction could be turned into something regenerative, something that has an actual positive impact if you just layer the Handprint system on top of that. And the promise of that is so big because our technology can flexibly integrate with anything that it can observe in the digital world. And we're actually even talking now with a champagne brand to take our technology offline to the analog world by integrating it in bottles or by integrating some of our capabilities in physical products.
How do you define success within the company?
I think when you're working in the space that we are working in terms of regeneration, climate action, and biodiversity preservation, every little victory is a success and needs to be celebrated, because we're really fighting against a lot of institutional pressures and inertia. And so I think in order to stay sane and motivated, we need to celebrate small successes. So every time I think we close a client or a client starts using our service, and every time at the end of the month when we send out the money back to our impact partners, I think that's a success, because that's what we want to do, and that's the goal of the organization. So the more we can do that, the more our business will be worth, which obviously is fun, and bigger our impact will be. And we really define our success and our metrics of success in terms of the climate impact that we are having.
What impact will Handprint have on the world?
I think the idea of integrating positive impact into business processes applies to any type of organization. And I think it especially applies to organizations that have by and large been excluded from the sustainability debate. So if we think about the way we think and talk about sustainability, typically is around how do we reduce negative impact? How do we reduce energy consumption? How do we reduce waste? How do we reduce plastic? These kind of things. And in the grand scale of things, the only organizations that can really do something about this are companies that make things, move things, or mine things. But that's less than 20% of the people working in the US and Europe. And so the way that we are tackling this market, so we created a regenerative responsibility target setter, which works in a very different way from the typical carbon footprinting setter, because it looks at how much wealth do you create for your employees, and we link that to a responsibility to actually compensate negative impact or to create positive impact. And so I think the next phase of sustainability in the next 10 years is obviously going to be all of the companies in the making, moving and mining of things are going to talk a lot about sustainability and doing less bad, which is very important and absolutely necessary. But I hope that the other 70-80% of people that work for other organizations are also going to raise their voice and say, hey, we're going to do something good. Like, we are going to plant a tree for every meeting we have, or if you're a VC, we're going to commit to making some kind of positive impact for every company we sign, or for every exit we do, or if you're a lawyer, for every billable hour. I mean, you can, any kind of process that is relevant to your business, that kind of contributes to your growth, you can connect to a positive goal. And if you do that, you become a regenerative organization.
The more regenerative actions we all take, the more likely we're able to overcome degenerative consequences. But what's a regenerative organization? One that strives to restore the natural ecosystems and those communities that they support. Regenerative organizations also often partner up and embrace collaboration in everything they do. Now, Simon, what advice would you give aspiring entrepreneurs?
Choose wisely who you go in business with, right? Starting a company is like a marriage, but the difference is that there's a lot more money at stake, typically. Yeah, I think that is so important. You need to be very, very confident of the people that you start with. I think that's the most important thing. And that doesn't mean you need to know them for years, right? So, because I've seen very successful entrepreneurial pairs that just met at some kind of hackathon and then very quickly decided, yeah, this is it. But you need to have that moment, I think, with someone, that instant click.